Morning, and thanks for joining us this morning for this brief but exciting program to share with you our newest report. I'm Theresa Jordan, Director of the Children's Investment Fund. And the Children's Investment Fund is a 30-year-old nonprofit that provides training, technical assistance, and financing to early childhood education and out-of-school time facilities in Massachusetts. And this is our 30th anniversary, so happy anniversary to us. We're happy to have you here today. Just a couple of announcements before we begin. This event is being recorded, and we are not holding a discussion or Q&A period in the interest of time, but we have some really great speakers here to share a few words. So we're pleased to share the report called Building Quality, Transforming Early Learning Environments in Massachusetts. And we will share the link to the PDF version in the chat, so you'll see that in the chat momentarily. The report celebrates the achievements of the Early Education and Out-of-School Time Capital Fund, also known as EEOST, since its creation. For this report, we are rebranding EEOST as the Building Quality Capital Fund. The Capital Fund is a state bond program that awards grants to early childhood education and out-of-school time facilities in Massachusetts to improve their spaces. Since 2013, the Capital Fund has awarded $39 million to 74 centers, impacting over 9,000 children. The report also highlights the importance of investing in childcare facilities because they are the places where young children often spend most of their days. We know this has been an extremely challenging time for the ECE and OST field now and over the past year and a half. The childcare community has stepped up during this pandemic, but programs are having continuous difficulty hiring and keeping staff, and funding is sufficient to sustain the actual cost of care. But what we know is that well-designed, safe, and healthy facilities are only one part of the solution. But this report boldly envisions a world where quality facilities are the expectation for all children, and that programs have the resources to create and maintain them. The Capital Fund has demonstrated that it's possible. We want to thank the numerous grantees who have worked with us over the years to transform their spaces and who have participated in the research activities associated with this report. We'd also like to thank the researchers who worked with us on the initial evaluation of the Capital Fund. That's James Bell Associates, Liz Yeager, Wellesley Centers for Women, and D.W. Arthur Architects. And thank you to the Evaluation Committee of the Children's Investment Fund Board of Directors. And I want to give a very special thanks to two people who worked alongside me, drafting, editing, and providing meaningful discussions and feedback every step of the way on this report. And those people are Kira Wilkie and Carl Sussman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'd also like to thank the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, which co-manages the Capital Fund with us. And thanks to the incredible team at EEC, Denise Carlin, Neil Flynn, Sean Reynolds, and Kathy Kelly. And we are very pleased to have the Commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, Samantha Aigner-Treworgy, with us today. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here today, and congratulations not only on the release of the report, but on your 30-year anniversary. Thank you for everyone who has participated as part of the building of this report. It has been just so great since I started to be part of the team that manages and oversees the Building Quality Capital Fund. And the report really demonstrates the power of what happens when we can invest in facilities. I have to let you know this is definitely a fund and an initiative that I watched prior to coming into this role and coming back to Massachusetts, because the Capital Fund is just a great example of what can happen when you innovate around public investment. When the legislature recognized the importance of infrastructure in 2013 and created this capital fund, it really showed that that childcare was a priority for Massachusetts, and ensuring that there is the resources for programs to not only invest in the services, but the environments that children experience every day. And the Baker-Polito administration has continued to be a strong supporter. It was just, I think, 2 months ago, although I have to admit that time has very little meaning in the middle of all of this. But about 2 months ago, I think, when I got to be with Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito as we went through the East Boston Social Center and announced the most recent round of the Capital Fund Awards, which actually expanded beyond the Massachusetts Housing Bond Bill and granted $7.5 million to fund really critical health and safety upgrades to 36 programs that were really present and working with children throughout this global pandemic. The childcare sector has faced so many numerous challenges right now and has showed up to make sure children and families continue to be served, not only in safe and healthy environments, but with qualified staff that can keep those programs running. Centers just shouldn't need to be worrying about leaky roofs or failing boilers, and our staff who have to work with children every day should not have that compounded to the already real difficult work of dealing with children and families. The Capital Fund shows us what high quality looks like when we go beyond that baseline of health and safety. When we look at developmentally appropriate nurturing spaces that are designed specifically to support children and to facilitate those interactions between staff and the children they serve. I've had the opportunity to visit a few of these sites since I started in 2019. Despite the fact that we haven't been allowed in person, I did make it to a few before the pandemic set in. I attended Brookview House's grand opening and celebrated their brand new building in Dorchester. And it combines after-school care with the housing for homeless women and children. So vital to provide stability right there in one place for children, for the women and their families. I remember visiting Worcester and seeing the early childhood education program at the YWCA of Central Massachusetts. It is bright and spacious and classrooms that have direct access to the outdoors. I'm so thrilled to be able to build that before COVID-19 impacted us all. These are the types of programs that every child deserves to have access to. And I am so excited to be part of the release of this documented report, so we can serve as an example for other communities and other states. And we can build these types of environments throughout the Commonwealth and the nation to make sure that children can see their potential reflected in the spaces that they're in. Thank you so much for our partnership with Children's Investment Fund and CDAC. And I am so excited to continue our partnership and look forward to so many more success stories from the Capital Fund in the years to come. Thank you so much, and I'll hand it back to you, Theresa.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we can't thank you enough for the leadership you have brought to the state during this very challenging time. So thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Deborah, Kneeland, Keegan, Executive Director of the For Kids Only Afterschool, which is an out-of-school time organization just north of Boston.
Thank you, Theresa, and the Children's Investment Fund. And thank you, Commissioner, as well, for all your support to the field this past pandemic year. In 1984, I was a teacher in the public schools and a parent, and I saw many children with no care or organized activities when school let out. So I changed my career path and I founded FKO, For Kids Only After School. We started with a handful of children in just one site. Today, FKO serves over 1,000 children at 10 licensed Massachusetts program sites in 5 communities north of Boston. We stand proud as a year-round out-of-school time service provider licensed by the Mass Department of Early Education and Care. For Kids Only After School provides a safe space for all children to thrive during the out-of-school time hours. Our holistic learning approach helps children love, learn, and grow while inspiring every child to leave their unique heartprint on our world. Our very first program site, like many other childcare programs, was in a church basement. Our second program site was in the basement of the American Legion Hall, and our third program site was in the basement of a closed public school. Since then, we have operated in all kinds of spaces, community centers, schools, storefronts, and now some of our own facilities. I can tell you firsthand that almost nothing else makes such a positive impact on children and the quality of childcare as a bright, beautiful space designed specifically for learning, growth, and development. Building and maintaining a program space that meets the needs of children takes time, attention, and perhaps most importantly, resources. FKO was especially fortunate to receive a $400,000 grant in 2014 from the Capital Fund that helped us to construct a brand new facility for Youth in Motion, our community-based program site in Revere, Massachusetts. Youth in Motion, like all FKO sites, welcomes low-income and at-risk youth. Our inclusive and supportive environment sends a positive message to children struggling with mental health and behavioral challenges, anxiety, trauma, and more, that they are important, valued, and worth caring for. Let me share with you some pictures to explain this capital project and the health and wellness focused space we created with the capacity to serve up to 120 youth every single day. Here's the exterior of the storefront space we leased for our first Youth in Motion home. On the busiest main street in the city, the building was old, had few windows, only on the first floor, and square footage was limited, which greatly restricted our ability to engage kids in sports and active play. Note, here we were on the ground level and the basement, with most programming happening in the basement. The second floor was occupied by another tenant. Here's a picture of the exterior of our new facility after construction was complete. Youth in Motion speaks to our goal for the program of promoting children's health and wellness. While we are thrilled with the impact the facility has had on programming and children, I must also note that it has helped our organization thrive. It was a solid financial move to our own facility rather than continue to invest in rented and leased space. This gives us a level of financial stability we did not have before. It also attracts additional funding because people love to support a quality facility. This picture shows the interior of our old space in the storefront. It's very dark, no windows, and poor ventilation. It was not the ideal place for children to learn and play. But here is a view of one of the classrooms in our new building. This is our STEAM lab, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. There are windows that open, fresh air, natural light, surfaces that are conducive to art, experimentation, and exploration, and lots of hands-on fun. It is obvious children would prefer to spend their afternoons here. We did find ways to be physically active in the lower level of the old building. However, in addition to the darkness, there were foundation support columns in the middle of the room and a rug. We were also limited in our outdoor play space. All we had was a patch of sidewalk near the storefront. We utilized the front lawn of City Hall across the street. Now we have a large, beautiful indoor multi-purpose space. This gym provides the space we need to promote physical activity and build gross motor skills. Kids have fun while exercising, relieving stress, and taking mind breaks after school. This space has also allowed us to have many program and community activities and events with our families and community partners. You can clearly see how our homework space was not ideal with poor lighting, no internet, and crowded tables. Now we have a beautiful space that is quiet and separate from other areas in the building. And we're able to add the technology tools all children need today to complete school assignments and communicate with others. Youth in Motion has a commercial kitchen and function nutrition cafe with flexible seating. The space is adaptable to many purposes, such as cooking and nutrition classes, family and community festivities, such as our family dinner project. We also updated the side yard at Youth in Motion to maximize every square foot of outdoor learning and play space. The area became an extension of the indoor classrooms and is used for motor skill development, games, and enrichment activities. Green space and outdoor activities enable our children impacted by the pandemic to move and relax, as well as rebuild social skills and learn to play appropriately with peers in an active environment. And as you can see, our governor visited this summer and enjoyed our play space as well. The open, flexible spaces at Youth in Motion really helped us to continue serving children in person over the past year and a half during the COVID pandemic. Other than the initial quarantine, FKO has been operating Monday through Friday for the past 18 months. We also launched a full-day remote learning support service last year from 7:30 to 5:30 p.m. for children who do not have an adult to provide supervision and care while schools operated remotely. With new windows to open and space to spread out for social distancing, we also reconfigured program activities, implemented new sanitizing procedures, and used personal protective equipment. While the pandemic had added major new challenges to operating centers, the physical environment clearly plays a major role in addressing health and safety of children and staff, no matter what lies ahead. FGAO was also able to receive a second capital fund grant this year through the special grant round that helped nonprofits address smaller emergency COVID-related facility needs. We used our grant to upgrade our HVAC filters, purchase air purifiers, add hand washing stations, and reconfigure the gym to aid with social distancing. These necessary but costly upgrades would have been difficult to fund without this capital grant. We also created a healthy workplace for our staff who spend long days in our building. Today, providers are investing everything we can in securing and maintaining a quality staff. A top-notch space is a great way to attract and retain the educators we want. So let me close by saying, space matters. I am very grateful for the funding provided that helped make this state-of-the-art facility possible, and especially for all the technical assistance and guidance that we received from the Children's Investment Fund and the many experts every step of the way. I hope more providers, communities, and children can have the opportunity to see firsthand the impact quality facilities have on their programming through this grant program, not just this year, but for years to come. It is wonderful to see the growing interest in facilities funding and childcare capital investments at the federal level in addition to our state level. As a constituent of Congresswoman Catherine Clark, I would like to also thank her for her attention to this important issue and her tireless advocacy on behalf of the childcare sector and for facilities in particular. Thank you all very much for inviting me to participate today, and thank you all for your commitment to childcare.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and for all that you do every day and for sharing these photos to help us all better understand why quality space matters. For Kids Only, Afterschool is only one of dozens of centers that have received state funding to newly construct, renovate, or acquire their buildings. And you'll see in the report a section towards the end that features a grantee spotlights. And there are so many success stories that we didn't even have space to highlight all of them. So now I'd like to introduce Nicole Barcliff, who is Senior Policy Director at the Local Initiative Support Corporation, also known as LISC. And she's an advocate for childcare facilities at the national level. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, Theresa. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. Together with residents and partners, LISC utilizes its position as a community development financial institution to forge resilient and inclusive communities of opportunity across America, good places to live, work, visit, do business, and raise families. We share Children Investment Fund's vision of empowering individuals and families to reach their fullest potential, and we know that childcare is a pivotal cornerstone of that mission. Quality childcare and early education programs are an essential support for working families, as we all know, and they directly influence child development. These programs promote children's development and learning, but much more than that, they narrow socioeconomic and racial and ethnic inequities. The physical infrastructure of childcare programs directly impacts the health and safety of children and providers, program quality, and the equitable availability of care. We know that parents care deeply about the safety and development of their children. They repeatedly say that health and safety is their #1 priority when choosing childcare. Therefore, the condition, design, and configuration of childcare facilities affects things like air quality, hygienic practices, proper food practices, the amount of indoor and outdoor spaces where childcare is provided. And it also impacts the number of children and families that can be served in a setting. Not to be understated, facilities matter, and they matter a lot. Both LISC and Children's Investment Fund are part of the National Children's Facilities Network. We're a coalition of nonprofit financial technical assistance intermediaries and other interested stakeholders involved in planning, developing, and financing for high quality early care and education facilities. And we also support business models, particularly in areas that have the least access to high quality early care and education and the highest concentrations of poverty. The members of our network increase supply and help improve the quality of childcare and early learning by providing technical assistance and financing to address capital needs. Our coalition, which represents a variety of states and regions in the country, has been watching and learning from Massachusetts. The state's Building Quality Capital Fund, which has invested millions of dollars in childcare facilities, is often touted as a best practice or model for other states looking to address the needs of providers, improve the health and safety of physical spaces for children in the childcare workforce, and expand access to quality care. It goes without saying that Massachusetts is a leader on this issue, and we hope to use your example to spur additional investment throughout the country. I'm excited to have this report public because it demonstrates the impact of capital funding for the childcare sector. There are not many reports out there like this. NCFN, LISC, and others are currently working to raise the visibility of facilities at a national level, and this report will quite honestly help us continue to make the case. We know that there is a multi-sector and shared responsibility for childcare and early education, and now is the time for everyone to raise their voices about the desperate need for dedicated public sector resources to support both facilities financing and technical assistance and capacity building for providers. As the Build Back Better Care agenda is advancing at the federal level via budget reconciliation, there is an unprecedented opportunity to help Massachusetts, other states, tribal nations around the country to be finally able to more fully address their physical infrastructure needs. We know that the demand for dedicated capital to support children and families far outstrips the supply, even in leading states like Massachusetts, and that providers and states are forced to make impossible decisions about how to address health and safety concerns in their facilities while supporting their workforce and expanding access to care. I encourage anyone who is taking part in this report released today to reach out to your members of Congress and call on them to establish dedicated standalone federal funding to support acquisition, construction, and renovation of childcare facilities, and resources to support the important technical assistance and capacity building services that entities like the Children's Investment Fund provides. You are strong leaders in your own right and have excellent representation at the federal level in your state. Assistant Speaker Clark and Chairman Neal have been leading the charge on this issue. They need your support to help make funding a reality and to better meet the needs of the children and families in the state of Massachusetts. If you need any help in navigating this process or reaching out, feel free to utilize the National Children's Facilities Network as a conduit to support your efforts. Thank you again to Children's Investment Fund and the state of Massachusetts for being such leaders on this issue.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you. That was terrific. And thank you, everyone. Let's see. Sorry, excuse me. Thank you to the commissioner and to Debbie for all of your words. In the report, we have some recommendations that we offer. And those recommendations are, as we're looking ahead, we hope the report will raise awareness of the importance of high quality facilities. And so we have a couple of recommendations related to raising the bar for quality space through policy, setting the expectation that every classroom should have things like natural light and proper ventilation, which are design elements that Debbie talked about. We also recommend that it takes resources to support programs to make these changes, and facility investment should be part of any funding increases coming to the sector through state and federal sources, which Nicole just spoke to about the Child Care as Infrastructure bill. And then also, it's not just about funding. It's about technical assistance and training for providers to complete these improvements successfully. That's a very key piece as well. And then lastly, spaces should support not only the children, but also the staff who work in these buildings every day. Furthermore, centers exist in communities and should meet the needs of families and their neighborhoods. Thank you for your partnership on this journey with us, and thank you for attending today. This concludes the event. Please share the report with your networks and continue participating in the movement to improve childcare infrastructure. Thank you.